Well, hello, welcome to Drawing with Fire. I'm Valarie, your neighborhood pyrography artist, here to help guide you on your burning adventures. And it's here! Finally, I've been teasing on Facebook about my special project, and here it is for you. I want to preface this with, if you're new here, please feel free to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. I go live every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Arizona time, and if you want to see more of these Animal Artist Collective videos, I'll be having those too. And today, this is a different kind of video. I am now part of the Animal Artist Collective, and the theme was coasts and oceans, or rather oceans and coasts. Anyway, so for my animal, I chose the manatee, and this one is the West Indian manatee, and I will talk about that more here in a few minutes. For the burning, I am working on Stonehenge Aqua 300-pound cold press watercolor paper. I thought I would give this a try and see how well the cold press would work with the burning. And for the manatee skin and the rocks, I thought I did a wonderful job. As you can see here, I started off with the tell. It was one of the darkest areas of the burning, so I really wanted to get that value down. For this piece, I only used my Optimal one, and this one is the spear shader that I'm using. I used this for quite a bit of the burning. I was set between a 3 and went as far as a 6, because once I burned the paper, even though it's done at a little darker value, I've damaged the paper, so I'm having to up my heat. And you can see a little bit in between the fish that there's a darker value. I'm going to try to go even darker than that, but I didn't want to go straight in with a heavy dark burn, because with watercolor paper, it is so much harder to fix, and building up the layers may take more time. In fact, this project from start to finish was about 20 hours, but I was very happy with taking that extra time and trying to get the gradients that I really wanted in the tail. And the cold press paper really did help me and made it a little bit easier, especially on the body where the moss, I can only think of it as moss because in the photo it's green, the body is very textured. And that's what I wanted to bring out in the piece, was not only the smooth skin, but the textured skin. So I spent a lot of time just trying to build up those values. Well, you may be asking yourself, what is this Animal Artist Collective? Well, the Animal Artist Collective was founded to provide a platform for emerging artists, promote positive messages for animal welfare and conservation, and connect artists to their communities. The original artwork produced for the Animal Artist Collective is always made available for sale, and 50% of the proceeds are donated to a nonprofit animal conservation organization. And for my charity, I have chose SaveTheManatee.org, and so 50% of the sale for this original is going to help save the manatees. I felt that that was the most fitting charity for this piece. You can be a part of the community. You join us on Facebook, Instagram, and or get to know the artists, our conservation efforts, and even vote on future themes. I will have all the links for that down in the description below. We have several participating artists. First, we have Denise Aden from In Liquid Color. She is one of the co-founders of the Animal Artist Collective, along with Jennifer Charlie. And we have Anita Gadzinska. I hope I said that right, Anita. Sorry. Eve Bolt, Sadie Saves the Day, and me. So all of our links will be down in the description below, and you can see all of their art as to what they created and the charities they chose for this month's theme of ocean and coast. Because we have decided that the videos will be once every 2 months, the next video for whatever animal we choose is going to be May 10th. The theme has not been decided yet, but I do believe they are going to have voting on it. over on the social media for the Animal Artists Collective. You can also unofficially participate. Anyone in the community are more than welcome to participate unofficially in an AAC theme by either creating their own videos and or simply creating artwork under that month's theme and posting it to social media. I will have all the tags below for Instagram, Twitter, and the hashtag Animal Artists Collective so that we can see your creations, or let us know in the comments below if you've created a video here on YouTube. As you've probably noticed, I switched over to the large ball tip. The ball tip really did help of just kind of hitting the high spots of the cold pressed paper, kind of doing circular motions in order to get that texture that I was going for. And I had to go over this so many times trying to darken it up. Yeah, that was interesting. But I got it where I wanted to. Finally, I did go back and forth though between the medium and large ball tip and the spear shader. And also, I'm trying to think of the number, the 9MP, which is micro point. I also use that for areas such as the eyes, a few of the wrinkles, and you'll see that pop up here pretty soon. I don't think I edited it out. I do have to apologize that all of this is sped up. I had to go through 18 plus hours of video, and I have a time limit of 25 minutes, so I really wanted to get everything in here for you guys. And that's a lot more difficult than one would think. So I wasn't able to put all my files in on the burning, but this is still blocking in and just getting that base burn so I could get rid of the pencil marks and really build up the areas that I wanted to build up. I've switched back over to the spoon shader, and again, I'm not pressing down on the paper. I'm letting that paper work to my advantage and just hitting the high spots and leaving the valleys unburned, and that helps create the different textures of this skin. And it also worked as well for the rocks that I do later on, but I don't show you because I had to cut that part out. So throughout the video, I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the manatee, if you are well acquainted with them because you live in the southeast United States, and Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, and even as far west as Texas. I'm sure you are well acquainted with the West Indian manatee, which is what I am working on today. They are very large. Their nickname is the sea cow, and they can be up to 10 feet long and weigh between 800 and 1,200 pounds. I don't have any information about this specific manatee that I'm working on. I did pick up the photo off of Pixabay, and I will have that link down in the description below. It is a royalty-free picture, and since it's not something I have access to, meaning the manatee, I did have to go for a copyright-free photo in order to make the piece. In the future, depending on what animals we're doing or what areas or types of environments we're doing, I will be able to use some of my own reference photos. But for things like this, where I am in Arizona, landlocked, we don't have any manatees floating around, I'm going to have to use a copyright photo, and that's what I have done. So let's get back to this beautiful, peaceful giant. Manatees can be found in shallow, slow-moving rivers and salt bays, canals, and coastal areas, particularly where seagrass beds or freshwater vegetation flourish. They are a migratory species, and within the United States, they are concentrated in Florida in the winter, and in the summer months they can be found as far west as Texas and as far north as Massachusetts. The summer sightings in Alabama, Georgia, and South Carolina are more common. West Indian manatees can also be found in coastal and inland waterways of Central America and along the northern coast of South America. The manatees are gentle and slow-moving animals. Most of the time, they spend eating, resting, and traveling. Manatees are mostly herbivores. However, small fish and invertebrates can sometimes be ingested. Manatees can be found in brackish water, freshwater, and saltwater, and they eat the vegetation from all three types of environments. Because they're mammals, they must surface to breathe air. They may rest submerged at the bottom or just below the surface of the water, coming up to breathe on an average of every 3 to 5 minutes. They can hold their breaths and stay submerged for up to 20 minutes. And if they are using a lot of energy, they tend to have to come up every 30 seconds. Now, for the manatee population, as of January this year, there's 6,131. But in 1972, they had been added to the Endangered Species Act because they were far fewer in number, and in order to save them and ensure that they were protected, they were added to the list. Now, they live up to 60, or actually they can live longer than 60 years, but they only have babies every 3 to 5 years, so it has been a long time in this Conservation Act. They are now been lowered on the list from endangered to threatened, but there is still an issue, mainly with human interaction, as in collision with watercrafts, being crushed or drowned in canal locks, flood control structures, eating fish hooks and fishing line, getting entangled in crab traps, and the biggest reason is loss of habitat. So for this, I really felt that I could help with my donation from the sale of this piece to ensure that education, rehabilitation, and just overall help to the manatee continues. To me, they are so, I don't want to say innocent, but so peaceful and calming to watch. I've watched videos of people coming up, not touching them, but swimming with them. They are not aggressive in any way. They are very curious and want to know what you're doing in their waters. And now I have the base burning down. Finally, it only took us 12 minutes into the video to get this far, but I have. And I'm going to tell you now, I'm sitting here with my cup of coffee, second cup of coffee. I am narrating on 4 hours of sleep, trying to get this done and uploaded for you to watch. And so, yeah, I've got all that going on. And as we just watch me continue to try to darken up the manatee, there was one part where I did think I was done, and then I stepped away from it and came back to it and just felt like the burning still wasn't quite dark enough. So I had to go back and higher heat and switch in between the different ball tips and the spear shader to really try to get that depth I was looking for. I knew I was putting watercolors on this, but I didn't want the watercolors to be, I didn't want it to be all about the watercolors. And so as you can see, several hours later, I should have said several days later, because I've been working on this off and on for 3 weeks at least. I'm to the point now where I'm just darkening up everything. I'm trying to add more shadows to the sand and to the rocks. I did a bit of stippling with the ball tip, and the reason I was switching in between the large ball tip and the medium is when you use the medium, especially on this watercolor paper, it leaves more of a speckle. So I was using that to get the little pebbles and the speckles of sand. And when you use the larger ball tip, because there's more surface to that tip, it's a bigger shade and easier to get just a larger area. I guess that makes sense because it's a large ball tip. Oh boy. I'm going to be taking an early old lady nap, I have a feeling, or I'm going to be so wired I can't sleep. Those are pretty much my two choices for this afternoon. And right here I realized I really didn't burn in the shadow of the manatee on the sand. And so I'm trying to go back and fix that and kind of burn out towards the edges so it fades out a little bit more. And I'm almost done with it. I really did enjoy doing this piece. I normally would not have thought about doing it. That's another thing that I really like about the Animal Artists Collective. It's helping me to get out of my comfort zone and look at other animals that maybe I wouldn't have considered. The manatee are gorgeous. I just really love them, but they're not something that's always in my forethought. You know, they're not an animal that or mammal that I'm around, so I don't think about them all the time. So this is really awesome to get out and do an animal that is different from my norm. So here I'm just, giving you the B-roll shot of the tips that I used for the burning and how the final burn came out. So now we are going to be moving into watercolor. I kept my watercolors down to 5 colors. I picked out the Cobalt Teal, Cobalt Turquoise, Payne's Gray. I had a little bit, just tiny bit of neutral tint, and the green apatite genuine, Daniel Smith. I used 3 different brands, M. Graham, Daniel Smith, and Core. And right now I am laying down the masking fluid there's a few areas on the manatee that I wanted to ensure that they didn't have paint on them. And here where I popped up the colors, I forgot to put the green apatite genuine on there, but it will be down in the description below. And I wet the whole paper and with a lot of water because my goal was to have a very light, watery feel to the watercolors. Of course, they're watercolors. But the thing is I forgot about my vision of my plan of how I was going to do the background. And I was going to do more of an abstract similar to the owl and completely spaced that and started adding a bunch of paint. So I started off with a mix of Cobalt Teal and the Cobalt Turquoise. And as I was looking at it, those 2 colors together were great for the ocean water, but I felt that I lacked the darkness towards the top. So later on I add a little bit of the Phthalo Blue red shade, not green shade, but red shade. In fact, here it goes. And I did like adding that color. I do go back and darken it here in a few minutes. We'll see that. And what I'm doing is I am trying to, what am I doing? Oh, I'm laying down I was wetting the area and laying down my first layer of green apatite to the moss area. And I picked that color because when it granulates out to a gray and a brown, and green and brown. And that green really worked for the texture of the manatee and for the vegetation on the sandy ocean floor. So that is the only green color I used for any of that. I didn't mix my own. It is the green apatite from the Primatech, and it just really worked for me. For this piece, I really like doing it. Now for the manatee's body, I did light washes of the Payne's Gray with the Phthalo Blue. And actually though, I mixed a bit of Cobalt Turquoise into that as well in order to bring in the watercolor into the manatee. All of this I'm doing with wet washes. I keep wetting the paper and then adding my paint because I really didn't want any hard edges. And when I did the moss right there with the green apatite, you could really see how it kind of spread out. And I like that because now I didn't have to go in and paint any more grasses. The paint made it for me. And I think that's part of, making art. If you can have your tools and paper included in those tools, work with you and help you, creating is a lot more fun. You're not fighting things. You're not trying to make things work. It all kind of flows together like water. And it makes it so much more enjoyable to do. So I did do a couple layers for the background and deepening up the rocks and shadows. But then I go back and add some more of that Payne's gray turquoise mix. Sorry, I had to think about which one it was because I did not add a whole lot of the phthalo blue into that, but it is there. And if you notice on the tail and flipper, because I burned that so dark, which granted in the scheme of things is not overly dark, but it is the darkest areas on the paper, the paint sits differently on that area. It almost acts like a resist. But I didn't get too frustrated with that because I kind of felt that it worked with the texture. So that goes back to, you know, working with what you have, and them working together with you makes it easier. So I just darkened up the background, and we are about to let this dry and switch over to some shiny stuff. Once everything was completely dried, I used a rubber cement pickup to remove my masking fluid, and I did another, this is where I did another wet wash of the Payne's gray just to kind of blend in where I had the masking fluid so it wasn't so stark. And I'm dabbing off so that it's not leaving extra water. I'm just getting that light tint. That's what I really wanted for this one's body, and darkening up the fin and tail. But you can still see the burning, and that's the biggest thing I'm always worried about in adding color, is still seeing my burning. So I added a little bit more accents, and I let this fully dry and went into adding gold leaf, silver leaf, and copper leaf. If you notice, the colors aren't as bright, and that's because I did the thin washes, and watercolors dry lighter than when you first put them on, and that all worked for me. So here I had to put on the Mona Lisa adhesive for the gold leaf, the copper leaf, and silver leaf, and I'm just going to say metal leaf for the rest of the video. And I did this in sections. I started off with the gold, so I picked the fish that I wanted in gold. I intentionally did not burn them completely in. I did do a little bit of burning, as you can see, but I did that so that I could erase the pencil and not have any graphite in the piece, but I could still see to go back and include the metal leaf to this. From the original photo, I did switch up how the fish are kind of facing and what direction they're swimming, and I did that just so your eye can move around the picture better. I added the fish on the top and just kind of changed some of their direction. So this is the copper, and then it's going to switch over to the silver, and we are going to be done. Here's the final piece. I am actually really happy with this one. Again, it is for sale, with 50% of it going to SaveTheManatees.org. If you're new here, please click the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, please like up this video and leave a comment. Happy burning, guys. Bye.